Hey, it's Rachel Talalay, and I am the director of Tank Girl. So I'm going to start out by saying that this is one of the first battles I had with the producers was over this song, and that I wanted a female singer for it, and one of the producers didn't like her gravelly voice, and there was a big battle over that, and ultimately the studio came across and loved this choice of song. And
you were
victorious.
victorious.
I was victorious here, and there'll be many battles discussed over the next hour and a half. But that was one. And every time I hear the song, I just am reminded how much I like the choice of both the music and having the female singer and the gravelly, slightly off-tone voice.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Very pleased as well with these animation titles. Just think they're incredibly effective and really show some of the best of Jamie Hewlett's work.
Mm-hmm. Love it. And they take different scenes or they animate different scenes from throughout the film, so it's kind of like a montage before the movie starts. It's really cool. I have a couple of these posters actually in my house. Some of these stills.
And I'm reminded what an amazing, amazing cast we ended up with. Thank you, Pam Dixon, for putting together just an incredible cast that's gone so far since the film.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing Stan Winston's credit and all the things that he did for us, which when we get to some shots of the Rippers we can talk about. But how much I learned from that man. Ariana Phillips, one of the greatest costume designers, and Catherine Hardwick, production designer who has gone on and become quite the amazing director.
She twilighted the world.
Yes, exactly. And has a huge selection of Tank Girl memorabilia. I'm pleased among her in her own films. She also has an incredible collection from Tank Girl, so I know she's proud of the film. I had to fight very hard to get her on the film because she wasn't in the union. And it was a huge battle. And at one point, one of the producers threw her resume on my desk, and I said, "You just have to meet her. She is the person." And won that battle, too. Aaron Warner, who has an Academy Award for producing Shrek, and Tom Astor, who started the whole Tank Girl craze, owning the comic book himself. And completely promoted the concept of Tank Girl. Initially, when Teddy Serafian wrote this, he wrote this sequence on a horse, and Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin said, no, you can't be conventional here. None of this film can be conventional. And it was their idea that you should be riding a water buffalo.
Or my double would be riding the water buffalo.
I seem to remember that you rode the water buffalo, too.
I sat on it. I didn't, really go very far.
Well, it wasn't exactly like the tank, was not exactly a fast-moving, easy-to-maneuver vehicle, animal. The comic book panels that come throughout were something we added later on.
Hero shot. Wait, hero shot. Dun 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 dun. Pow! Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, hero shot, light, another hero shot. We shot all this in White Sands, New Mexico, where it was at least 104 the whole time.
Yes, I do remember that.
It was an incredibly beautiful location, but you couldn't have one iota of your skin exposed or you would burn.
I remember going to set every day and seeing the government airplanes that would disappear and reappear and disappear and reappear, and that was pretty interesting that they even let us out there.
It was incredible. And we built this house, and people thought, oh my God, you've uncovered a house in White Sands, New Mexico.
Right?
I know. Then that's the genius of Catherine, that she made it actually look like we uncovered the house.
No, she's a genius. Just a complete genius.
And she worked, because a lot of the designs were done as a combination of Catherine and Jamie Hewlett.
Right.
So masses of the designs and masses of the details were Jamie's sketches. So a lot of the discussions about where things came from were a combination of the two, and they worked together brilliantly.
Right. We are taking something two-dimensional, making it three-dimensional, you know, with people in their different strengths. I mean, it's just fantastic collaboration with everybody.
And same thing with, because Jamie was very involved in costumes as well. So the collaboration with Ariane Phillips was also very, very strong.
Ariane's been nominated several times, I believe, besides creating Madonna's 10 billion looks.
Yes. I think the biggest battle for me was hair. So what's your memory of getting your
hair?
head shaven? And
I had
yeah.
I had 40 different wigs. I remember that, or 40 different hair pieces. I thought it was fun. I love it. It's all part of creating the character, you know. I loved all those insane. We used to look through the black hair magazines with like the crazy church lady hair. It was really awesome for 1991.
I feel like we were so ahead of our time.
Yeah, baby, join the train. I like to watch people try to redo things that we did in Tank Girl. Like, I don't know, Lara Croft. People like that.
Don't you love it now when people come up to you? People come up to me now and say, I watched that film. My mom showed me that film. We watched it together when I was... That makes me laugh.
No, I was saying earlier, there's 3 generations of Tank Girl fans. There really are. They're 10-year-olds.
There really are.
There are. They're 10-year-olds, they're 30-year-olds, and they're 50-year-olds. And it's kind of cool.
That makes me feel awesome.
Isn't it great? Or like
And they come out of the woodwork. All 3 generations.
I live in Venice, and I'll be walking down the street, and I'll hear, "I love you, Tank Girl," and I'll be like, "I love you too, baby." And that makes
now
me
this
happy.
scene, the first introduction to Malcolm McDowell, I have a very strong memory of, which is this was the first scene I shot with Malcolm. We'd been rehearsing together, and he was fantastic and very enthusiastic about doing the show and very happy to be off. He'd just done Star Trek, and he was happy to be doing something much more in tune with his past. But he walked on set in this scene and said, I have some ideas of how you can shoot this. And I went, deep breath, and I watched the crew look at me and say, what's she going to do? And I remember saying, let me just give you an idea of how I was intending to shoot it, and then you can give me your point of view. And I pitched the idea of starting with that shot of the glasses of water, and he just went, that's fantastic, and never told me how to direct ever again.
Well,
I shouldn't put it that way. Never made suggestions of how it should look.
You
but
passed
it was
the
really,
test. That's a test. You passed the
that
test.
It was a full-on test and unexpected.
Who's going to be the boss, me or you?
But thank God I passed the test. Because I remember just sweating, and I remember watching the crew just sort of back up, like, okay, this is the testing point.
I loved working with him. He was, you know what? I love professionalism. I love people that are, 20 minutes early and stay 20 minutes late. And I mean, that's what I got from him. He was always prepared, always fresh. Just loved him.
I just loved him too, and every single woman and girl on the set had a crush on him. It was great to watch.
Well, those sparkly blue eyes you got.
I know, to die for. And of course, I'm this massive fan of Clockwork Orange. So a lot of our inspiration came out of a lot of the additional production design inspiration came out of Clockwork Orange.
Right. You want to talk about being ahead of your time, you can look at Malcolm McDowell. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, his early films, and that in particular. And I watch it every year and am blown away. So I couldn't believe how lucky we were that he has been a huge support and fan of it. And the hardest thing was just everybody being so hot 24/7 on the show. I mean, I remember being comfortable one day of 92 when we were in Liquid Silver, one day.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Liquid Silver. I can't wait till we get to that part.
Yeah.
Oop, he's gonna die. You're gonna get it. I'm gonna suck the water out of you.
These were some great props that we had designed and built that that came both from Catherine and Simon
Jamie.
Burton and Jamie and Teddy's imagination. But then you build them and you're like, wow, they work, and that's incredible. I know that Malcolm kept all his wardrobe.
Oh, he did. He kept all his costumes.
Yeah, he says he loved what Ariane designed for him, and he just kept he kept it all, which is pretty complimentary.
Oh, I remember when Gwen Stefani came out, and someone called me on the phone and said, "Lori, I didn't know you were a singer. I love your music video." I said, "What are you talking about?" So, all of that to say that Ariane and you and the makeup people and myself included created this, and Jamie and everybody with Tank Girl. She had so many emulators. I mean, to this day, I still think Gwen Stefani has a little Tank Girl debt to pay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Which is
and,
fine. I'm not mad about it. You know what I mean? I'm not mad about it at all.
No, it's cool.
But people
it's totally
call me
cool.
and they think it's like I'm in a video. I'm like, no, that's Madonna being Tank Girl. No, that's Gwen Stefani being Tank Girl. No,
exactly.
that's,
And we're responsible for creating the Spice Girls as well, because when we did these open casting calls,
I remember that.
Which three of the Spice Girls got tired of waiting in line to be part of the open casting call, and said, "Screw this, we're going to start a band." And they always talk about it. They always credit it as how they got together, because three of them met just waiting in line for the open casting call.
Oh, there's our homage to Clockwork Orange right there.
Yep. You mean the bowler hat?
Yeah, the bowler.
Come out up late. Hey, baby. What do you say? Me and you. Vegas.
And all of Jamie's designed props.
That little kangaroo. I'm like, that's real beer. Ew.
And you have to remember that when we made this, it was pre-digital. So
I know.
the majority of the effects are all optical, not digital, which was a huge deal. So all the models, we had to build models and do it the old-fashioned way.
Rebecca?
Shot on film, cut on film,
Rebecca?
things that people don't even know what they are now.
I know. I'm sad that the studio didn't give us more than 10 days in the theaters.
What did I tell you? Don't say butt smear. It's not becoming. Say asshole or dickwad.
Oh, and also the fact that they rated the damn thing R.
Sneak you some food for that.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, now
That's
you
so,
would barely.
but so wrong. I'll tell you the reason they rated that damn thing R. If I'd have known that, I'd have been naked through the whole damn movie. Because, and I would have. Because if you're going to do that to us, take all of our audience away, you know that Tommy Boy opened at #1 because everybody paid to go see Tommy Boy and went to see Tank Girl.
Yep,
Because they couldn't
yep,
get
yep.
into Tank Girl. So that's just fucked up.
And it's funny now because it would never in a million years be R.
But I've
Now, I wanna
always
talk about this
said the reason that it was rated R is because it was a female hero, and I mean that. There's nothing R in this movie. What's R in the movie? Seriously.
lot of innuendo, but it's female innuendo, and that's what they were frightened of.
That's what I think so too. I think it's the fact that a woman's feeling a little inadequate. They're like, fuck that.
Yeah. Shocking. Now it's like a joke.
Oh yeah. This is PG
I mean,
now.
This is PG, not even PG-13.
Not even
Such a joke.
PG-13.
Come any closer.
Yeah, I should have just been butt naked the whole time.
You gotta stay there.
You know who this soldier is? I don't know if we're at the same place. Richard Schiff from he just won an Emmy for God, I'm having a moment.
You having a senior moment?
Yeah. Now I'm embarrassing myself.
Okay. You can come a little bit closer. But you can't touch.
Yeah, Richard Schiff.
Here's the scissors.
Shit.
So, Lori, did you ever audition?
Oh yeah. Oh,
did,
I have
okay.
I have a really great audition story because I read the script and you probably heard the story before. I read the script and I said, "Oh no, I'm Tank Girl. That's it. That's what's gonna happen, right?" And I was doing another film at the time, and I had Tank Girl cartoons and comic books all over my trailer. I had I had posters of Tank Girl, and then I didn't get the part. Someone else got the part, and so all my co-stars came in and said, "Lori, we need to have a little intervention with you because you still have all this Tank Girl stuff up on the walls." And I said, you don't understand. I'm going to be Tank Girl. That's it. And they said, "No, this other girl's going to be Tank Girl." And they showed me the Hollywood Reporter. I said, I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you. I'm going to be Tank Girl. That's it. And then like 2 weeks later, I got a phone call and I said, "I told you guys." I just knew it. But yeah,
That's so great.
I
That's such a great.
auditioned like twice. I auditioned like twice. And then it was really funny. The intervention was funny. "Lori, you're crazy. You've got to go to the 5150 because someone else got it."
And you're like, nope, I know.
I'm telling
I know
you right
what's-
now.
That's great.
It's a true
I do
story.
remember when I pitched the project, I had two really funny moments. One was when Dawn Steele, who was then network studio head, stood up on a table and said, "I am Tank Girl." And that's how women respond to that. They just cannot look at that image and not go, I am this person. I mean, that's how I felt when I first saw the comic too. I have to do this. This is the most important thing I could possibly do. And you had the same response. And then I went and pitched it to Jim Cameron's company. And I didn't have James wasn't there, but I pitched it to the executive and they said, "We already have a film with a female lead." And I was like, what? So I was so nonplussed by that comment, I
Right.
couldn't even believe it. And I go, well, what is it? And they said, "Joan of Arc." And
Oh,
I'm like,
Lord.
"Oh, Joan of Arc, Tank Girl, they're the same films." So I'm like, okay, and I think, Jim Cameron's done so much for women in actors and the strength of women. I couldn't believe that they would say that. But Joan of Arc, those were very memorable moments. And we had 3 offers to make the film, but we ended up going with, all together deciding to go with United Artists because we thought we'd have because they offered us the most money to make the film. And still, we were completely limited. I mean, all the time I look at it and say, I wish we'd had more money for this and this and this. Especially to get a tank that actually ran. So the flyers and all those are models that the Skotex did. And now they would all be digital and there'd be a bunch of them and there'd be great smoke. But now,
right.
Every one of those images was so much work.
That cut looks painful.
I like pain.
What else do you like?
Hot oil.
There's a really cool GIF of this online, Rachel.
What?
There's a really good GIF online of this. You know what those are? They're like these little mini movies. So like where
Yeah.
when I take my legs and break his neck.
Oh yeah.
There's a,
This is one of my this is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Starting with "This Is Me Unconscious." And
You feel led.
one of the reasons we added the comic book panels was entirely just to add some extra action in that we couldn't afford to do. Because
Right.
I think one of the biggest limitations was what we could actually afford in terms of now digitally you would do so much, it would be so much easier to do it. But because the combination of the fact that the tank didn't move backwards, couldn't be backed up, and every time, you wonder how armies run when every time sand got in the tank's tread, it died.
Well, you know that he almost killed me once. You guys didn't even see it. I literally almost died riding on the turret of that damn tank. Because you know he was supposed to be going like 5 miles an hour, and as you know, whenever you say action to a boy, he does it like 1,000 times faster or harder or breaks your nose or something. So I was sitting on the turret, and you guys said action. He slammed on the gas, like pedal to the metal. I fell off the turret, landed on the wheel well of the tire. It was like a movie, and my face was inches from the treads, and he kept going, okay? And then finally when he stopped, I was hysterical, and I said, "Why didn't you stop?" He goes, "I couldn't see anything." No, he actually said I couldn't see anything, that's why he kept going, because I was laying over the hole where he looks through. My body was laying over the hole, so he kept going.
Unbelievable.
No, I almost really, really died, like for real, for real. And then I'm telling everyone, and everyone's like, "Yeah, whatever, you didn't die, we're busy." And I'm like, but
I don't remember that, so
you know, you were probably busy doing something. It was one of those longer shots, and I was sitting, I'll show it to you. But you guys were far away.
Okay.
And so by the time I got there, you guys were moving on to something else.
right, we were like, oh, whatever, that worked.
That's good, you didn't die. Okay, keep going.
You know, you did a lot of your own stunts, so,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot. Because I remember you saying, it's a bit like being on Glee. I sing, I dance, I do my own, except
Right.
harder. It's beyond the triple threat. It's the
I was like, why not? Who else am I going to get to do it? That one poor girl, though, she did jump from the tank
Yeah,
to that semi. Good Lord. She did that
that
like
was
3
unbelievable.
times.
Surfing the tank turret.
Yeah.
We'll get to that, but yeah,
That was insane.
I was like, you can't do that. She was awesome.
Oh, and once no one told me that you guys had rigged the semi to go a tiny bit over the edge of the cliff. So I'm up there acting away on top of the semi, and I see that we're going over the edge of the cliff. So I jumped off the top of the semi because I wasn't gonna go out over the edge.
Fuck.
Well, no one told me that it was rigged. And the stunt coordinator goes, "Good fall, Lori. Good roll." Because I hit the ground and I did a roll, and he's like, "Nice job. Okay." And everybody.
I want to back up and talk about some of the stuff that they cut out at the beginning of the film, because they cut out the whole pre-credit sequence where they explain about the comet. They cut out one of my favorite things that they cut out was the bedroom set, because I recently talked to this, and they cut out the bedroom set because we decorated her bedroom all with dildos.
it was awesome.
And I just recently talked to the guy who actually had to buy all the dildos. He went to the pleasure chest and had to
The
go
dildo
buy like
buyer?
4.
The dildo
Yeah,
buyer?
he's now a writer. And he said, no, I had to go and buy 4. I was sent to the pleasure chest to buy 40 dildos. He said, I can imagine I needed 2 shopping carts full of dildos. And but MGM UA, they didn't care that the plot didn't make sense. All they wanted was they were just embarrassed by the dildos in the background of the scene.
Oh, they should grow up.
I know, and I'd just been in England where there was like dildos on network television.
Right.
So, so we're in the shower scene.
I love this.
I'm
It's
watching
so
the shower
pretty.
scene, and this song, this Portishead
Portishead,
song,
yeah.
one of my absolute favorites. And this was actually written in the script that she scrubs her body, and it was very abrasive and very hard. And we went against, you and I decided to go against type and make it actually quite romantic and sensual, that she could handle this abrasive material and actually turn it into something. And it turned out to me to be one of my favorite scenes as well, that managed to make this, awful situation into something. And then we get into everything in this next scene as a turnaround from what is to be expected.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You did a great job.
And the song, just a fantastic song that worked so well. And here's Naomi, who, when we did this, was so shy.
I know.
I remember you saying to her, Naomi, you have to actually be in the picture.
Oh, that's right.
You've got to stop hiding behind me.
It's true. She did. She would do that.
She would hide behind you. She would find the only Gail would, the cinematographer, would say, you can't find the only dark spot in the room. You actually want to be lit and on screen.
I told her, I said, you won't be in the movie if you can't see the camera, okay? So if you can't see the camera, then move to where you can see it. Yeah, she was just lovely, but she, like you said, she was very shy and very just wanting to do a great job and sweet, and she was wonderful.
She was absolutely wonderful and still is, but it was so funny to think of her as being that incredibly shy
I know.
girl that she was then, who needed to be, given who she is now, who needed to be guided toward the light.
Right, now she's got one of the biggest films of the year coming out. I don't know if it's going to come out theatrically, but that Princess Diana movie.
Yeah. I was looking at, just in a magazine just yesterday, pictures of her compared to Di. And here we are with the tank moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that we got to use the music from Shaft. That was just a piece of a momentary, it just delights me every time.
Oh, me too.
And again, you never know whether you're going to be able to afford these things. You never know
Right.
what's going to be acceptable. And so every time, everything is a little victory when you get to, when things like that end up actually in the film.
What was your budget on this?
It was about $25 million.
Wow.
But that was nothing with, visual effects.
No,
the
for
cost
what,
of visual effects.
Yeah, for what you got, no.
I mean, because we did have to cut out a lot of things that we wanted to do. And now I look at things and think, oh, I can see, I'm just inside the tank and all the ad-libs you did, Lori, that were so brilliant.
I was just a goofball.
Yeah, but what joy is that? Go, there's easy direction. Get in the tank and have fun. Oh, okay.
Okay, whatever you say. I mean, go. Isn't that how you make a tank go? Just tell it?
Yeah. It's always depressed me that the only version of the film that MGM put out, well, for the longest time, it was just the only widescreen version was the Laserdisc, which I have. And then for the longest time, they only had a 4:3 version. And so almost 50% of the film was missing off screen.
Wow.
And you talk to people and you'd be like, come on, we composed for widescreen. Because that was one of the things that Aaron fought really hard for and Gail was to be allowed to shoot in widescreen, not just, regular.
Yeah, it's kind of like in A League of Their Own on the DVD. Like, you could just see my shoulder in most of it. Most of the movie. Because they shot it anamorphic.
Yeah, and then, anamorphic when it's taken down to...
Right.
So I have the widescreen version. It's great to see it the way we really framed it. It's hard not to care, and say to people, I was always making copies of the Laserdisc so people could see it in its full glory.
We're all prisoners here.
I just watched the film recently. I haven't seen it in a long time. And I looked through my DVDs and I couldn't find it because I'm sure someone stole it. So I went on Facebook and I go, does anyone have a copy of Tank Girl I can borrow? And I had like 4 people go, yeah, if you'll sign mine, yeah. And then I went on what is it, eBay or Amazon or something, trying to find it. So the people want like $25-$30 for this stupid thing.
Yeah.
I guess there aren't that many of them out there. You know, like I don't
Yep.
know where people they bought them up.
Well, there's a guy in Pennsylvania who bought all the props that were available, and he has like a museum he bought the flyer. He couldn't buy the tank because they stripped the tank down, but he bought the flyer. He bought basically all the props that weren't either stolen or Catherine doesn't have or Ari doesn't have or I don't have, because I still have a few things. And he has this massive museum of tank girl props because he's like a dentist and totally great guy. Stayed in touch,
Oh,
but
I like
every
this
time,
thing.
all the T-shirts, because we had that great T-shirt that after I pitched to Spielberg, and they said to me, "Thank you very much for coming in and pitching, but." We thought that we're glad you think we're hip enough for this, but we're not.
Right.
So Jamie designed a T-shirt that says "Too hip for Spielberg."
Right. Wasn't Booga on it? Or just see
Don't
it?
remember.
I can see it in my mind.
Don't remember.
Well, that's a bore.
Don't have a copy anymore, sadly. There is one though he designed that has a face of Tank Girl and it says vagina, and then
Oh, yeah.
one a booga and says penis.
I remember those.
How come you always do that? How come you always cover your mouth when you smile?
But I wish I had all that stuff.
I have the duster, that iconic Tank Girl duster, that long coat. I
I have do you have the boots?
I have a pair of boots
I have a pair of boots too,
that are.
but I have the bullet bra.
Oh, cool. That's dope.
That's my only really. Now here we're in the cold room, and this is a scene that makes me really sad because here's where the studio just cut the scene to shreds. And the first time we tested this scene, it was one of the most liked scenes. And they just came in and they said, "You look too ugly," because of course you're shot full of cholera, and that was the point. They go, "Oh, she looks
Ugly?
too terrible. I
It
can't
looks
look at her."
awesome.
I know. And they said, "She looks too ugly. I can't look at her." And they cut the scene way back. And a lot of the
She's so ugly,
lot
I
of
can't
the-
look at her.
So, yeah, I mean, those are the moments. Those are the things you get from studio executives. So they cut the scene way back. You can
That's
see that we're more on
hysterical.
Malcolm than you. And then we tested it, and suddenly it wasn't everybody's favorite scene. So I went back and said, "Come on, guys, here's the numbers. This was everybody's favorite scene before you
Wow.
cut it back." And I put it back, and they said no. So
Wow.
it's one of those, lost scenes that I'm sad about. Because there's a lot of really great jokes in it.
I get to wear a cute little outfit like
Wow.
It's an okay scene now, but it could have been great.
That's so sad. When you got the writers and directors and producer and actors all making one thing, then you've got some guys in a room going, "She looks ugly."
It's
what?
like, and you're looking at, other movies, and you're like, that's gutsy. Like, you had no fear of looking,
No. It's a
destroyed like you were
it's
supposed
a cartoon. She got her ass kicked. That, you know
It's
what?
like
But
the
this
people who
going down
ask-
this damn tube tunnel thing.
Yeah.
I'm claustrophobic. I almost had a panic attack in there. I really had to hold it together. I had to use all my superpowers and all my meditation and all that shit because that was real. That wasn't CGI,
Yeah, exactly. No, there was some tough stuff there in that piece.
Yeah.
In that tube bit, yeah.
When I'm in the baseball bat bag. I'm going in the thing. That was horrible. Yeah, that was not fun.
Look at your eyes. One green, one blue.
I know. That was
That was
fun.
gutsy.
That was fun.
Well, we almost shot this in a real missile silo, but then we couldn't get permission to use it. But that was really an awesome location. There were the most incredible locations around there.
Yeah, this is me freaking out.
Yeah. I love the girl who played Sam because she was real. She wasn't
Right.
Like they all come in and audition like they're going to be in a Disney film.
Right.
And they all like, Broadway, babies shows up. And you're like, no, I just want somebody who can actually care and act. And
I always thought this was hot. I always liked this location.
Full metal. They didn't even have a chance to squeeze off a round.
such a huge deal when getting locations like this ready. I mean, hours to get all the fires running and the smoke and all
yeah.
that stuff. Such a big deal.
I know just the young lady to help us find it.
Absolutely, sir.
I mean, that's
Take me out of that tube.
This is a scene I like a lot too.
Oh yeah. Use this finger to pick it out.
Yeah.
Glad you see things my way now.
I bet kids use that now.
People that weren't even born yet.
Yeah, that's so, I know.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool.
Honkin' booger hanging out of your left nostril. If I was you, I'd use this finger to pick
It's good for my kids too. Because I got pregnant in the middle of shooting this, if you remember.
Oh gosh, I remember that.
So she's 18 now.
She's 18 now. Wow.
And we call her Tank Girl.
That's awesome.
And we yell, suck on this dirtbag in the house. Now this shot of the tanks coming forward and was just one of the, and you coming out from
yeah.
between the tanks.
Beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful shot. And one of those things that was just, you couldn't have planned.
No.
That it became so surreal. It just, the way the smoke worked with the film,
I loved
just
it.
beautiful.
I loved it. I remember that so well, vividly. I remember that walking up there and getting pushed from behind.
It's only a
Like,
locator.
it was amazing.
And also a great location.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll
And Gail just did such an amazing job with making sure that there was so much texture in everything we shot.
Well, there's so much texture, and everybody looks gorgeous. Nowadays, they have texture, but people don't look like movie stars, in my
Yeah.
opinion. You know what I mean? They just
Yeah,
they make people look ugly, and they're trying to make things look so high def or whatever. But no, I like movie stars that look like movie stars. Like even him. I mean, everybody looks fabulous.
yeah.
If I want to see the girl next door, I'll go next door. It's like I want to see, this big, beautiful, well lit, film that you made. That I remember that.
So we were at this mine, this copper mine, to shoot a lot of these huge, so that a lot of the equipment was already there, and then Catherine just moved it around to make it, make each location look even more awesome.
Condor Control, Condor 05. I'm detecting Ripper activity.
I'm detecting Ripper activity.
Here's another place where I had an argument with the studio because I wanted a lot of this to play on the screens so that we didn't give away very much about the Rippers.
Oh, right.
And they wanted as much on-screen material as possible.
Right.
And to me it was important for it not to be obvious at this point because you're supposed to be frightened of them and not know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
That battle armor, which all that Ripper material that was designed by Stan Winston, I mean, just brilliant.
It was funny. I was always in makeup for 900 hours in the morning, and then the Rippers were in makeup in another room for 900 hours in the morning. I never saw Ice-T and all those guys without their costumes on in the whole movie. For months, never. But they saw me in real life, right? But I never
Yeah.
saw them in real life. But they didn't know I couldn't see them. Do you know what I mean? Because they had their
Yeah, exactly.
So
but it was
they'd come
we
up to me,
just-
but they'd come up to me afterwards and say like, "Hey, Lori, you want to go have a drink?" And I would have no idea who that was. And like, and he's, Reggie. It's Reggie Cathy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I think I know your voice. It's like, what are you
That's so
talking
funny.
about? We've been working all day. But I never would see them because I would have to get my hair taken out and my makeup
Yeah.
off, and then I'd have to go work out, and I'd have to eat, and I'd have to shower, and I'd have, and you know how it was. So
Yeah.
I never saw them socially, and then I'd see them a year later, and they're like, Ice-T's like
Right.
telling me what's up, and I'm like, oh, that's right, I worked with him. but he
But it
was
was
a
Stan's-
kangaroo.
Yeah. And he was so funny because he's like, I read these scripts and they say I'm going to be a kangaroo guy, but I don't really believe I'm going to be a kangaroo guy. And here I am,
Right. Remember when he wouldn't dance? Wasn't that awesome? The scene where we all had to dance, and Ice-T's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't dance. So you put
he
him on
was
that
very
throne.
determined what
It
he
was
would
awesome.
do.
It was awesome. He's like, yeah, I'm not dancing in a circle. That's not gonna happen.
Not going to happen. And he was right too. I mean,
Oh no, it was perfect. Yeah.
he designed his character, and it was interesting though because as we were designing the Rippers, I mean, they designed all their look based on the looks of the actors, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't just. I mean, it was not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where you
Right.
couldn't tell the difference, and all they had, except for what color
Right. Oh yeah.
their headband was, and but the fact that each guy had 2 people to run their costumes the whole time. So if you had all 8 Rippers, you had 24 people in the room. It was it's like, how can I direct this?
They're making they made their ears move and their tails move and all that
Right,
stuff.
and their eyebrows move, and I mean it was amazing, all the expressions. So here we have our first real animation sequence, and this came out of the fact that we could not do big action. We could just not afford to do big action with the tank and the flyer. It just so I came up with the idea that the most fun way to do it would be to animate the whole thing. So because we couldn't get the tank to go fast, and so we could never get the feeling of speed and things happening together.
Right.
And so we came up with the idea of putting the animation into it as well. And it was really fun putting these scenes together.
Remember our premiere at the Man Chinese Theater?
Yeah.
That was awesome. This guy, bodyguard, had to carry me across the street over his head. The whole street was packed. It was amazing.
That was amazing. And do you remember the premiere in London?
No. Must have been doing another movie.
No, you were there.
I was not. I was in London. Oh yes, I was. Yeah, I remember.
Because it was at the Roundhouse in Camden, and they had people
yeah.
on stage putting with making huge sparks, and
Oh yeah.
it was
I remember that. That was a fantastic. I remember very vividly now. I forgot.
and there were posters. I mean, all the bookstores had the comic books for sale with posters of the film.
And the clothing line they had over there in London.
Yeah,
Jade Thai. He specializes in.
Oh yeah.
and the
I
comic
remember.
book's still going strong.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Martin still writes it. He has different artists for it, but there's a whole bunch of new volumes of the comic.
Oh yeah.
So now we have, this is also a prop that I really like, the fake arm, his razor arm.
Doctor, come here. You see the glass half empty. I prefer.
And I love the design of the nurse's hair. It just added to her coldness.
In here. We're trespassing. Look, what if somebody he catches us.
And then we go to the scene where we meet Subgirl, and this is one of my least favorite scenes.
Well, it was honestly it was oddly shot and lit.
And that's because, you know why?
No.
It's you know, because I'm the first person to admit to failure, and the regular camera operator wasn't with us that day, and we just didn't get in sync,
Right.
and so it just didn't quite work out. And I feel it too. I mean,
Yeah.
I look at it, and you know,
Well, and like
I
you
look
said
at-
about the depth, how it usually looks, you know,
yeah,
the foregrounds and backgrounds. But
it just goes to show.
but Annie's
you know.
amazing, isn't she? Though Annie's
Oh,
fabulous.
she's so great, so funny, so much fun.
Tell me the security code.
It's tough too because the Subgirl character, you really wanted to have her more involved, but how are you going to do a submarine in addition to?
If you can't do a helicopter or flying, you can't. You do
Yeah, you've got
submarine.
this, you know, these flyers that are on wires for the jet, and then you've got, you know, a tank that doesn't run, and now where are you going to put the submarine? So we just had to.
In my fish pond on a stick. All right. They were selling a girl's stuff after they had taken her prisoner. I bought it.
She did a lot with the character. We had a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
who wanted. We had a lot of people who wanted to play this role. Courtney Love really wanted this role, and then she had the tragedy with Kurt, and so. But she loved the project so much that she came back a little bit later because she obviously couldn't come and audition. But then she came back a little bit later and said, "Can I supervise the music?" So that was incredible. So I sat with her a bunch of different times, and she would send me scraps of paper from hotels in Australia with ideas. I have, you know, amazing ideas and songs, and I obviously learned so much from her. And this montage of putting the tank together again, I mean, you know, doing it all animated, just rather much less boring than watching you screw screws in reality.
Right.
And all the tank designs were Jamie's. He'd spent forever designing details of the tank, you know, including the 8-ball and the thing on the mascot on the front. But
I love my barbecue pit in the back with the lawn chair. I love
Yeah.
it. I love that stupid thing. We shot this like after.
that's an ugly story that I don't think I want to talk about. Because somebody else shot some of this material that I don't like. So I'm a little bitter at this moment about that.
So weird.
But I'm still a little bitter about it.
Of course.
But everything in the blue is my material. And you can tell a difference because there's no smoke. Everything in the white T-shirt was done as promo, not. And I didn't want it in the film.
I
and
think
they
that's
basically
what I thought it was, promo. I didn't think it was going to be in the movie.
It wasn't going to be in the movie,
Right.
and then he wanted my job, and he came in and he cut it in, and I said, "You can't do that," and they said, "Well, if you make a fuss, we'll fire you."
Oh my lord.
So there's the dirty laundry.
Well,
so I didn't want-
directed a film a couple years ago, and I asked Penny Marshall. I said, "Do you have any suggestions?" And she goes, "If you don't want it in the movie, don't shoot it, because they'll put it in there." I said, "Oh,
Well, that's it. And I didn't shoot that. I
Right.
didn't shoot that stuff, and there's no smoke in those shots,
Right.
but he was, you know,
Hey.
this idea of cutting Kesley's head off came from Aaron Warner.
Ooh.
And then we had, okay, now we've cut his head off. Now what do we do? And we designed all these different versions of what to do with the decapitated, none of which we could afford. And I have some beautiful designs of things. And of course, here's guys in Lederhosen, and Lederhosen is something that's always funny no matter what. That's definitely a Catherine Hard. That's a Catherine and Ariana edition. And here we are in Liquid Silver, and all this material was choreographed by Adam Shankman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the awesomely famous, amazing Adam Shankman, who directed the new Hairspray, which comes around in my whole world since I produced the original. And he used, the interesting thing about the Liquid Silver dancers is he used 2 men among the women. And Sharon Stone, who was visiting because she was going out with one of the crew members, came up to me and said, she came up and said, it's really unfair that he used men because their thighs are perfect.
I remember coming out of my trailer once and seeing her sitting on a stoop, and I was like, what's Sharon Stone doing here?
Doing here, exactly.
We're in Phoenix at an abandoned mall. That was an abandoned mall that we filmed in. And we didn't have time to go, I didn't have time to go back to my trailer to change my costume. So they said, Lori, there's a whole bunch of empty, stores. Just go in one of those and change. I went in, closed the door, and it locked. And no one knew where I was. Like, no one could find me. And I couldn't get out. And I was in there for like 20 minutes alone in an abandoned, like an abandoned Baby Gap or something. It was really scary. It was funny. No one could
But I
hear
really
me.
remember, the best thing I remember about Liquid Silver was it was clean and cool.
Oh, yeah, very.
And just being so happy to be in a clean, cool. This scene where you get dressed and this is all just genius ad lib. I thought
That was so much fun. And you know that girl in the box was in Vogue, in the group in Vogue?
Yeah, on Vogue, yeah.
I just saw
But
her.
you, I
just
thought-
saw her at my nail salon in Venice. She's like, Lori. I'm like, what's up?
Wow, that's funny.
I know.
Because I remember watching you do this and thinking, God, you are like Lucille Ball in this scene.
Thank you. It was certainly a blast.
Like, this is genius comedy and underrated genius comedy.
Oh, thank you, baby.
And here's Iggy Pop, who I had met doing Cry Baby, and was just fabulous to work with.
Oh, he was delightful. And I'd see him at the hotel every day, and he'd always have a peanut butter sandwich. And I would be like, good morning, Iggy Pop. He'd say, good morning. And I would say, why are you eating peanut butter sandwich every day? He'd go, because I like peanut butter sandwiches. He was
And he worked out all
hysterical.
the time. He just worked out all the time. He
Oh,
was
yeah,
like,
constantly.
These guys, he was just one big muscle. It was amazing to watch. And so funny. And great, you just can't believe that that you've got Iggy Pop, that you've got Ann Magnus, that you've got these amazing
Oh, I
people just
know.
showing up all the time.
Look at her costume, Ann Magnuson. Wow.
Yeah, that's great. Nothing subtle in the costumes.
No.
Oh, and then the Naomi's glass helmet. And then we get into this. Now, this dance number is a big issue for me because, first of all, there's absolutely no excuse to have this dance number in the film. And it's, of course, my absolute favorite thing because I was just a huge fan of Busby Berkeley when I was, still am, but really as a kid. I just loved musicals. And so I'm like, I'm going to do a Busby Berkeley, and I don't care. I don't need any justification.
I'm just going to do
And,
it.
I love this Cole Porter song. And we made up new lyrics to the Cole Porter song, and nobody ever said anything.
Ouch, right there,
We
I
just-
cut my finger off in real life. Oh,
Oh, that's right. You were really bleeding.
no, really. And then you'll see me hiding my,
Yeah.
you can see me hiding my cast. Ooh.
But fortunately, of course, it didn't matter that you could have a cast and Band-Aids and anything you wanted because...
But when I showed up looking like that in the hospital, they were like, I've got the leg, I've got the head. I'm like, no, I cut my finger off. Because they thought I had blood all over me. And then the guy was going to take part of my butt and put it on my finger. I'm like, no, I'm not going to mess up my butt and have a messed up finger. So I called my doctor in LA. He goes, Lori, put a Band-Aid on it, take some Advil, go back to work. I
Yay,
said,
doctor.
yeah, exactly. They wanted to cauterize it. No, I'm not messing up my booty for that.
So this scene, which I wish that they had kept in full because there's several... initially, when the studio recut the film, they cut it into an absolute disaster. And they were particularly that this is too long, and they cut out some of your best material. But they left it so that the chorus, it didn't even scan. Like they took half bits out of it and stuff.
Oh no.
And I'm fighting them to. I said, this doesn't even make sense. You don't even have good music cuts.
Right.
No, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. And I'm like, oh shit.
We don't care.
And
we don't care.
and ultimately, the music supervisors came in and said, you cannot leave this cut this way. And because I didn't even have the power to make sure that the music made sense. So ultimately, but you did everything. I mean, you know, in this dance number.
Girl, who you telling? And then you said to me, you go, no, you'll just do this part and then we'll cut. No, we'll just do this part and then we'll cut.
Liar, liar, never believe a
I would look
director.
over to you and you would go, like, keep going, keep going, keep going.
That's
I
so
puked
good.
my guts out because you were like, keep going, keep going. I was so exhausted.
That's because you were so good, but I
Oh,
didn't,
thank
it
you.
was impossible to say cut because it was so awesome.
It was really fun.
And it was my favorite part.
Right.
Sounds like Cole Porter to me, sir. End it, sir.
Yeah, Adam was wonderful, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was so wonderful. He's so into it. He so loved it.
And he was so
And it's like, okay,
patient.
now you're going to do this punk version. Now you're going, now you're going to do this punk lyric. Now, and as I said, we made up lyrics. No one ever said a thing. Like poor Cole Porter.
Hey, you in the bathrobe! I love that line.
Like that line.
I'm so retarded.
And look, there's all these girls in thongs. Now nobody would think twice. Like every girl would have a thong.
Oh, right.
And then we had to, we took Sam away, and then we had to make the flyer go up in the air, and it wouldn't, all the cables broke, and just like
All, the
all those
cables
moments where you're just like, oh, miserable, awful things are going to happen. Yeah. Like, oh. And you want massive of smoke, and instead you've got little wisps of. And there's Naomi in that plastic outfit,
broke. Oh, yeah.
which was really funny. And we got some miniatures.
Don't worry.
And then we did all this stuff where we didn't want to, where we didn't show Malcolm's, Kesley's face because we didn't want to give away. We didn't want to give away what had happened to him for all this time.
After he got his head cut off.
So you don't know what's. Trying not to give stuff away.
You don't know what they're like. Are you out of your mind?
I remember this shot of them, you guys going down in the filthy, dirty pit,
Oh, yeah.
and I just remember that was when I was the most pregnant and the most morning sick. That's just a weird, bad memory.
Rain Lady said the
And then
Southgate was around
beautiful shots in White Sands.
near 2 rocks. I can't believe we're doing this.
Near 2 rocks.
And then, where are you? Where are you? And now we're about to meet the Rippers.
What's going on? Rebecca?
These guys are amazing.
And there's a shot where we had to take Naomi into the sand. And I don't know, I mean, I had done stuff where you have to sink people into sand. Boy, that is hard stuff. And you're always choking them. And then this is a tour de force from Catherine's standpoint, that we found this location that was a disused bowling alley.
Oh,
So we
Lord.
had all the bowling balls and we had all the materials to work with and just turned that into the Ripper hideout.
I love the room of bowling balls that we were resting in. It just cracks me up.
Which
We're
we just
asleep-
found, you
We're
know.
just
I'm
asleep
like-
on bowling balls.
Oh my god, it's the Elephant Man!
And then we revealed the Rippers as goofballs,
Right.
lovable goofballs.
Hungry and how about some food? Now you've done it.
But yeah, the bowling ball room just worked great. And then we revealed the Rippers with a totally cliched, using that bending lens that in those days wasn't used all the time in every MTV video. And those guys were so hot because they said it was
Oh.
like wearing a couch all the time. because not only did they have, tons of
Plastic.
makeup,
Right.
but every suit they wore was wool, and they were so hot. And I remember Ice-T, somebody saying, "How come you never complain, Ice?" And he said, "Better than prison."
Exactly. Exactly.
He asked you a question, answer it.
Hey, I have 2 words for you.
And then we do that at my house too. I have 2 words for you: brush your teeth,
Brush your teeth.
which always makes like kids go, "Huh? I don't get. That's 3 words," and you're like, "Oh God." And Reg Cathy has done incredibly well for himself.
Oh yeah. He works a lot on Broadway too.
So interesting.
He's such a good actor.
But I swear, any one of these scenes that we had all 8 of the Rippers in, I mean, there were behind the scene were 16 guys running their ears and they're running their faces and their ears and it's brilliant because every ear expression and every eyebrow expression is what makes it work, and every piece of the nose. Just incredible work from Stan's point of view. And we couldn't afford Stan Winston. He did it because he wanted to do it.
Wow.
He invested a lot into the film without anybody knowing because we couldn't afford this kind of material from him. And we didn't pay him what he...
I love my Coolio hair right there.
I love your Coolio hair
My
there, too.
Coolio hair is awesome.
Crumpets and tea. All in favor of crumpets and tea, say aye.
Shut up. Ain't gonna be no crumpets and tea. We're gonna take them outside right now and waste
And Ice, he was prone to ad-lib as well.
Oh, was he? Reggie?
Yeah, but in a good way. Like he's always just that. I mean, ad-libs that you wanted. Because initially the Rippers weren't written particularly distinctive in their personalities, so we developed them a great deal, through the characters, which you wouldn't know. And Scott Coffey, the horny young one, he's never seen a girl before.
Right, he always wants to see naked girls.
Yeah,
Or he loves
That's a
Jet Girl.
yeah, that's a great bit. And the sweetness that Jeff Kober brought to Booga.
Do you suppose me and Jet could go to the bathroom?
Do you have baseball
But-
cards?
The fact that you can, that they left their eyes open so you can really feel their eyes. The hardest thing to manipulate, of course, was the tails.
Well, they were
So you
huge.
could- Yeah, because they were huge. And, and everything had to fit through all the clothing. And
Put a little smile on that
be like 3 hours before you could get them all on set, minimum.
Well, and then it took an hour to take all that stuff off at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'd done Freddie. I mean, I know how long it takes to do that makeup, but then you've got to add all the animatronic stuff to it. And it always worked. I mean, that's the other thing with Stan. Unlike the tank, you're building all this stuff, you're putting it all on, and all the animatronics worked always.
You don't want to be like those other manimals.
So just Stan, genius. And I always loved that he kept a copy of all the Rippers in his museum next to the Alien and the Terminator.
Oh, wow.
He had the Rippers in the Stan Winston Museum, and I loved that. I felt really so honored by that.
That's something special.
Because you're looking at Terminator, you're looking at the Aliens, you're looking at Stan's most classic work, but he loved how the personalities.
But then he didn't do it because he decided that he liked us too much.
I have this great idea. You, me, and Jet go for a visit with Johnny Prophet.
When he gets back, yeah. Well, maybe
Where did he go?
to New Zealand for a little while to help some scientist guy who was making seawater so he could drink it. Did she need to know that? Did they need
They even got those crazy teeth.
Yeah. And Reg Cathy just bringing all that music,
kind of shit? I don't know. All I know it's coming.
the bongos and the clarinet. Just all the musical stuff he added to it. They all added so much of their own personality to.
want us to think it's a trap?
which is what you want.
Well, and it's also nice to have, you know, 4 guys. It becomes like a jazz group or a baseball team. You know, they make each other better because, you know, they lift each other up, and everybody wants to be better, and it's really cool. It's like you see somebody go deep, you're like, well, I can do that. I'm gonna do it. You know, they just make each
You
other
taught
better.
me that. I remember you telling me that on League of Your Own that she asked you to always come with more things. You know, to always come with more ideas than not just expect. And I use that all the time now when I direct. I just remind with young actors that they
Well,
should
she used to
even
say
if
to us, Penny used to say to us on the bus, she's like, okay, what are you doing on the bus? I'm like, well, I'm not in the shot. She's like, I don't care if you're in the shot. What are you doing? So I decided
See-
that my character wanted to travel and wanted to leave the Midwest, and I used to draw pictures of New York City while I was sitting on the bus. No one ever saw that, but, you know, it adds to the layers of the character. It makes you a better performer.
and I still use that when I direct. I still use that example
great.
because it's so great. Just you know, so that people are always bringing stuff to the table. And telling them it's okay. And you don't have to use all that, but it's,
Right.
you know, and sometimes I'll say, sometimes you'll have directors who won't want all that stuff, but you need to be thinking that and bringing things to the table. So thank you. Thank you, Penny Marshall.
Yeah, right?
And thank you, Lori, for telling me that story. And these guys just, you know, and that's where Ice-T, if some stuff was written in the script that didn't feel like his character, you know, no way was he. There's a great moment coming up where he's pissed off with you guys, and he right at the end of the scene, instead of he's supposed to just grunt or whatever, and he says women, and I go up to him and I think, okay, because I was you know quite intimidated by him, and I loved him, and I was also a fan of his music, but so I go up to him and I say, Ice, we can't really. I'm trying to think of how do you say it. We can't really end this feminist treatise with women. And he looks at me and he goes, I don't suppose I could change it to bitches.
Bitches are trippy.
And I'm like, no, I don't.
Right
think
here,
you
this is
can."
where I almost died. I fell off. Sucker. Ice-T's awesome. I mean, you know what a good actor he is. We'd sit there and
Yeah.
discuss stocks, you know, in between shots, and then he'd turn into a badass again, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
did you buy Google? Oh, yeah, I think you should buy Google. People expect him to be one way, and it's like, no, that's acting.
He came in. It was right before he did the Cop Killer song,
Oh, yeah.
and he came into the mix and did Cop Killer for us.
Wow.
One of the great moments, just like me and the mixers, or no, it was not the mixer, it was the ADR. Me and the ADR guys, and he raps the whole song, and you're like, okay, this is why my life
Wow.
is so awesome. I can't believe it.
Wow.
Because I just had a solo performance of Cop Killer.
That's gotta be it. Let's move. Whoa, 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 whoa. All I see is the
And all these little details, like on the screen with Scott Coffey, with the Donner character of the naked girl on the screen, all those little details. I mean, I feel like I cheated Catherine. If I made this again, I would be better at, there's about 2 million details that never ended up on screen. And I feel like I would be better at being able to represent the amazing additional things that were also there that you don't even see.
Those guys will mangle you. Shit. They're men.
But it was hard. I mean, it was a hard film.
I was gonna say, girl, I think you did a pretty great job. It was grueling. Look at all this. Look how huge this cast. Look how huge these sets are. It was so hot. You had a limited budget. I mean, come on. It was a huge.
I know, but you
undertaking.
still,
Huge.
it's still your job to look at, what
Right.
isn't quite right. And this scene, the calendar scene, where you just fell into your element, Lori.
Where I'm just, once again, just being completely retarded.
And I'm like, I don't have to do anything here except stick the camera on you.
The super has left the model. I'm like, really, Lori?
I know, it's genius. And and these guys out of the blue just being calendar boys,
I know you're not
just complete,
Obviously, you didn't get the memo.
piece of cake. Any place we turn the camera, anything we do, just so easy.
Thank you. It was fun.
The perfect.
A Men of Water and Power calendar. Goofball.
And of course, and also you get to choose like the scariest guys and work with them, which I love too. I mean, growing up in Baltimore, it's just like, find me some Baltimore guys.
And if I remember
Fun to
correctly, these guys were really into it. They loved it.
Yeah. Oh, they thought it was hysterical, Again, you want your extras to just be. And then Naomi has her moment where she's like, Jet Girl just has the moment where she's like, she
No,
actually
she gets
comes
super
into her
into it.
element as well. Yeah.
What's this? I don't know.
Let me see your. Open your shirt. Quick, quick, quick. All right, now smile. Let me see those teeth. Come on.
And then we get into this whole subplot about. The worst thing for me about the film was the fact that we had to have this complicated subplot about guns and Johnny Prophet and
right,
stuff
right.
that was really irrelevant to the film, and just was action stuff to make it seem like it, because this is what the film is about. These moments, Tank Girl was what the film was about. Every time they asked me, what's her backstory and what's her motivation, and I just wanted to put once I said, her motivation is to tell people like you that that's a dumb question.
Her motivation is to go to lunch. Goodbye.
Yeah. Her motivation is, it's like, this is a comedy. I don't
Right.
need a deep, what made her into Tank Girl? Those are the questions that I just wanted to kill myself over. And now we're into this huge scene with the semi, which was
Man.
so hard, so big, and a lot of second unit in this. A lot of combination of, and then we go in the tank, and this caused a great deal of argument with the studio as well, because they're like, why isn't she shot? And they made me add a line where you had to say, you guys can't shoot. And I
Oh,
was
you
like,
can't shoot for
God.
shit or something?
Yeah, you can't shoot for shit, which we had to add for no reason. And you did brilliant ad-libs in this. Like, you put a condom on a banana and threw it at them, and they were like, oh, you can't do stuff like that. That's offensive. And God knows what else is missing. I don't remember that's missing from, brilliant ad-libs that will never see the light of day.
Thank you.
But there
I
was
like
such,
that.
there was,
Jet, what are you wearing tonight? That was fun.
they were such prudes. And then they were so literal. They were just like, we want the action scene to be. And I'm like, how come you want, because how can she be cooking a hot dog while they're shooting at her? Well, we'll make it
Because
better
it's
by saying
funny.
you guys
'Cause
can't
it's
shoot.
a movie.
It's a movie. It's a comic book. It's tough
Exactly.
it's tough when your executives don't understand your film.
It's a comic book.
That was awesome. I mean, she actually did that surfing on that's a stunt girl surfing on the tank. She actually did that without safety.
I know. I'm just.
And then the leap, and that was incredible.
Yeah, that leap just scared the Jesus out of me.
And even the stunt guy's like, oh my, and the stunt coordinator was like, wow, that was really incredible. Roadkill. You're doing okay when the stunt coordinator's like impressed.
This is where I jumped off in real life. Not that shot, but it
Right.
scared me. I didn't know that we were going over
And then
the
the-
cliff.
Feeling a little inadequate?
Some incredible stuff. But we did, now when I talk about mistakes, we spent really a long time shooting this stuff. And I think that we probably could have made it a little bit shorter and had a couple of the other action sequences be bigger. But given that we had to cut a lot of, we ended up cutting a lot of stuff.
But it was
And then they cut plot, then they started cutting plot stuff and saying it doesn't matter. So like the Johnny Prophet stuff makes no sense now. And people come up to me and say, I don't understand. I'm like, well, we should just cut it out entirely because it didn't need to make sense. That's the kind of people who say, why does her hair change in every scene? You're like, okay, if you're asking that question, you should not be watching this movie. This visual effect where we look down over the cliff, one of my favorites. One of the ones that worked incredibly well. I forgot about the scope of this sometimes.
this stuff was scary.
Yeah, there you are, partway over the cliff. Little homage to Spielberg jumping across the moon.
That's cool.
Backwards E.T. The too hip for Spielberg moment.
That's awesome.
I had it all under control, Boogo.
How sweet is Boo Boo?
I know. Then we get into the banquet.
Enhance the spirit of our circle.
This was fun. I
Look
like
at the size
I
of
like
it.
my little flip too. I like my little 60s flip.
After the ceremony, the weapons will be disposed of.
So much fun to
After all that.
just costume. I mean, and everyone who we hired who was involved in the show was utterly, completely engaged in every element. I mean, they all, knew that there wouldn't be a lot of opportunities where you could do this again, where you could, any costume, any hair, any just embracing the craziness.
Yeah, there's just nothing better than going to work and knowing that there are 200 people doing their absolute best, and all they want to do is please you and to please themselves and to make a beautiful product. It's such a great feeling to wake up in the morning and see that. It's like, wow.
And it's so great to know. I mean, what I do know about the film is that it has life. That
Well, yeah.
I would not want to have made a film. It was always going to be a film that was either, a 0 or a 10 on people's radar. I know, everybody who gives it a 5, I don't know what movie they watched because you either had to love it or hate it, and that's always what I wanted to go for. Because it was the same time that Judge Dredd came out, and it just didn't have the distinctive feel that we at least went for originality and just something you've never seen before was the hope.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You know what? It's not art if people are comfortable with it. Then that means they've already seen it. Then that means, who cares? It's another plaid shirt, But like you said, love it or hate it, but just don't go, okay. Don't say that,
Yeah, that was all I wanted was, and that's why, when Jamie
You see
and-
my
and-
homage to Michael Jackson tape on my fingers I have in every movie? That's what a geek I am. Those are my Michael Jackson tape fingers. I have Michael Jackson tape fingers in League of Their Own, too. Because that's how nerdy I am.
And here's the Ripper dance, which Ice-T was like, there's no way I'm
Ice-T was
dancing.
like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm just sitting in the chair, and that's it. And I'm like, okay. Because Adam's like, he won't come to the choreography scenes, to choreography sessions, rehearsals. And it's like, okay, now I know why. And he was right. It's much funnier with him not being involved. He was totally right. And there's Booga just humping Naomi. Well, now Donner's just twerking.
This is so nasty. He just starts humping her.
Yeah, total twerking now. And you got just sitting on their tails. Then we had these 2 scenes, as I remember, with you and Booga together. And I can't remember whether this is the first or the second. Because they only let us keep one of them. And this is my favorite Jamie image ever, the bullet bra. Just the greatest bra prop ever. Thank you, Rolling Stones. Thank you, 1950s. Thank you, Jamie Hewlett. But the Stan Winston built this completely naked Booga.
Oh, I know. I
And
have a
do you
photo
remember
of
that?
him. I have a photo with him. Yeah, I have a photo with Naked Booga in my house.
You do? Because I can't find that material. I'm dying for a
I'll send it to you.
Can you send it to me? Because no. So after that, we actually had a post scene.
Oh,
You
yeah,
guys,
the post-sex wake up.
the post-sex scene, right? And Stan built a full-on naked Booga.
No, I know. And
And-
his penis was like 11 inches long. I have
Yeah.
a photo of it.
Okay, well, good, because no one else seems to be able to find this. So please send it to me.
I do.
And
will.
I can't believe I don't have the dailies from it, because we actually shot it naked as well. But then it's not that I would ever wanted to use the full naked, but they wouldn't let us keep the scene in at all.
Right. Which is ridiculous because, I mean, William Shatner got to sleep with everything in the universe. Why can't I sleep with the Ripper?
And they go, well, I remember some kid writing me and saying, it's not like we don't know that it's not men in costumes. It's not like you're sleeping with actual kangaroos. What are they thinking? I'm like, yeah, okay.
I like how all the Rippers have vitiligo. Like they
Yeah, they do.
gives them like, see that? Gives them like 3-dimension, in their
Yeah.
skin. It's beautiful.
Okay, guys, here's the plan.
And then we used the overhead. We went into the bowling alley and used the overhead.
I have that.
Score-
I have that poster. It's huge. That pan you just saw of the plan.
Yeah,
It's huge. It's from one of the parties. I have it in storage somewhere.
wow. So you've got stuff that I haven't seen in 18 years.
Right.
Catherine, though, showed me, she showed me I sent over some of the original designs she did for some of the stuff, and stuff that ended up cutting out. I remember that in Liquid Silver, she designed this see-through waterbed, which had breasts inside, totally Clockwork Orange. It had like fake breasts inside the see-through waterbed. I was always so bummed that we didn't get to do it. You have to give stuff up, though. Here's the bitches scene, where Ice-T said, "Women." No, Ice, we can't quite do that. And then you parasail in. It's like, oh, there's another
Oh,
cheap.
girl, that made me sick as a dog. And we had to do that with the green screen.
Yeah,
Because there's no, as you know, there's no, what do you call it? Horizon or anything.
oh yeah.
So when you're flying through the green screen, ugh, just that sense of vertigo
Right.
and not having a place and woo. I don't like roller coasters and crap like that either, though.
Only repeat what I tell you.
I don't either.
Got it?
Point of reference, to have like no point of reference and just be
Right.
floating around is awful.
I never, you never complained about anything, so
No.
I didn't know how miserable you were.
No, I'm happy. Like you said, I mean, would you rather be home or would you rather be at work? I'd rather be at work.
This guy who plays the day player at the control tower is a biology professor at UCLA who asked me for a role.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And he came out. It was totally great, just having somebody completely arbitrary. And he taught Trey Parker and Matt from South Park as well, and they designed one of their characters after him as well. He's total personality.
Wow.
One of the mad scientists in the early South Park, who makes the monkeys with the 4 butts, was based on him as well.
Blowing it.
Say again, 04. You're blowing it, Donner. Just listen to me, okay?
We're dead.
Putting all those guys in the flyer. I mean, imagine these close-ups with Naomi and the tails and the. There's no room to put people in that flyer, let alone with full-on costumes and tails and
Do my stuff. Have you got that?
like hell.
Home plate. This is
But remember, we didn't have to green screen things in the corner because there wasn't any room.
Right.
Now here's the situation. This bird has got no electrical, and in about 2 minutes we're going to be sucker. Either you get off your butt and clear us for landing, or I'm gonna fly this rocket right up your socket.
Roger 04, you're cleared for hangar 8.
And then we have these miniatures of the jet flying in and stuff. Those still, to me, don't look as good as I wish they looked better.
It
Because
looks
to me
good.
now they look a little Mickey Mouse. But again, I mean, you're talking about miniatures. Now they'd be digital and amazing.
This was 20 years ago, girl.
I know. I could still be critical of my work.
No, but I wish. Yeah, well.
Yeah. We had a lot. I mean, you know. And this location, when we went upstairs in this room in the mine, I mean, there wasn't a bad angle in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh, I remember that.
And just every single thing is, I mean, you could have just stayed in there for, 5 months to,
It was pretty rickety, though. I remember having some fight scenes on
yeah.
those
on those-
narrow passages.
Yeah.
No, this just freaks me out, too.
That's funny because I think, like, to me, this is it's a bit of a failure, the business of of drowning her, but not. I always felt like it wasn't, oh, we got a cliched ticking clock and it doesn't really work. You never really feel she's in danger, and
No, there's a shot of it, like, up next to her, past her ears. There
good.
is.
It's good to know later on that it actually it isn't lame.
Actually, 164.
Having all of us ready at the same time, boy, I remember that being a difficult thing.
Oh yeah. And all the guards and
Mm-hmm.
even like the shoes they had to wear and stuff on the and on the catwalks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything was a problem. And then there were it's like shots with all 10 of you, and I'm like, okay, how do I compose this?
How do I get all these people in the movie?
And of course it's fine in widescreen, but then when they cut it into
Right.
4:3, it's not everybody in the movie. I love that helmet with the fur all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that must have been cool.
A fur helmet
For yeah,
in the
oh,
mine.
yeah, and Naomi's, also filled with sheepskin. And the Rippers now they're in battle armor as well.
Good Lord.
So they've got an extra couch that they're wearing.
A couch and a recliner.
Exactly. Some minor stunts there, jumping, through with all the explosions and, just rigging all that stuff and doing all those big jumps. That stuff's really time-consuming and hard work. I forgot how much of this we did.
Do you remember how many shooting days it was?
I think it was 92.
Wow. 92.
The last 2 weeks we were in LA on stage doing all the Greenstein stuff and this scene where he dies, it's like I always thought it's amazing that he could do a death scene when all you really see that's his are his eyes, and yet he still makes. It was just a moment of acting where you're just like, wow, he still made his eyes make you really, really believe. It's not that he's still. It's what he did with his eyes that made you really believe that he was dead, and that's some acting. Some of my favorite shots are just the wide shots in that place too. Just looking over the top of those. And when we first arrived and just looking at it, and then you get there and you think, are we ever going to be able to light this and shoot this? And then there you are, and it's, oh, wow. How lucky am I to get to make this movie on every level. It took me a year, though, to option the project initially. I spent a year convincing them that I would be respectful to the project.
Wow.
and that I was the right person to get the option. And when I'd finally given up, that's when they came back and said, okay, you can have it. And we got it together pretty quickly. I mean, within a year after them giving me the option, we were making the film, which is
right
unheard of
there.
now.
That was scary.
Yeah. And then we reveal there's Kesley and his head's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only because we couldn't afford.
Right.
So we create
To
this.
do it again.
We create this digital head for him that's exactly looks like him, because we couldn't afford to do. We'd initially come up with these designs for all these television screens, and the head was going to be made of tons and tons of television screens, and we just couldn't afford it. So the ultimate solution was to make him look absolutely normal until he reveals that his head is completely a digital projection.
Right.
But there you go, budget, sometimes budget decisions are, make for better solutions. And sometimes they're just disappointing. So in my head, I still have these images of this multi-faceted television
multi-TV
screen. Yeah, where it was sort of Picasso-ish. One screen had an eye looking left, and one
Right.
screen had.
Well, you can still make a movie with that in it.
Need a hand?
This is where I do my Muhammad Ali impersonation.
Yes.
I'm such a retard. Oh, I'm so pretty.
And then we reveal that his head is. It all gets pretty silly here.
Marvelous, isn't it? State of the art holographic technology. Know what it means? It means I can hurt you, but you can't hurt me.
But I'm amazed. It's been a long time since I've looked at how much we did, and
You did a whole bunch, girl.
how much of it works.
Hey, if people are screaming, "Hey, Tank Girl, I love you," to me every day, 20 years later, you did something right.
I can't, And then people are like, "You made Tank Girl?" To me. They're like, "Uh-huh." Deep down, I've still got. Actually, my younger daughter just bought Doc Martens last week, and I'm like, "Yes, yes." We continue the legacy.
Right?
Just say, I won.
I won.
And I wish that, we'd have even more punk music in it.
Mm-hmm.
Original punk music I would have loved to have had. I mean, the soundtrack, I think, turned out amazingly.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have loved to have had, Elvis Costello and early Elvis Costello in it, and the Stiff Records people, too.
Mm-hmm.
But we also were aiming to make it a little more contemporary. We had Green Day for a while in the Temping It.
Oh, really?
And that was before that, when nobody knew who they were, and then they became famous just before, and then we couldn't afford them. But I got Joan Jett in it, so that was
Kind of awesome.
I was like, oh my God, Joan Jett. Those moments when you're like, oh, my life is cool.
Don't tell me you're out of ammo. Don't move a muscle.
Sometimes when I go up for jobs now, people say, how do I know you can do action? Oh, no, I forgot in the last, 15 years what I did before. One of the things I'm pleased with is that we managed to make you guys, when shooting guns, really look like you were handling them properly. 'Cause
yeah.
I think that's really a big deal, is when girls look like their guns are too heavy and can't handle them. And you know,
Right.
so when Naomi's shooting, you know,
You look great.
yeah. And yet didn't go crazy with, I have to go and, you know, like guys do, I have to go practice for, like, okay, I can just do this.
Right.
You know, I can just act. We made all kinds of really hysterical labels for the beer cans. Like we had spunk beer, fast beer. And a lot of time spent on logos and really cool designs for everything.
Well, it's that whole
Again-
the whole cartoon theme that just lives
Yeah.
through every single prop. You know.
Yeah.
It's the world that everything lives in. That's just amazing.
And they,
Ugh.
Malcolm was really uncomfortable as well, especially in this scene, because he also was in a massive wool suit. And I remember, like, you know, he was so right on. You never had to give him any direction.
No.
So if you ever had to do more than 2 takes because things were out of focus, he was like, I'm not. I will be right here in this space and time, in this 3-dimensional space. Measure me, and I will be there. And he really told the camera guys, keep up with me.
Right. I remember that
And-
actually.
And it was, you know, it was good. I mean, because he could find his exact space, and that's, you know, amazing, just amazing.
Oh, Jet Girl gonna get him.
Yeah. Fuck me.
How many times do I have to tell you? I don't.
I don't want to. That's where, you know, Naomi looking like a movie star right there.
Doesn't she?
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
See you in the next world.
General, we have
I forgot how huge Ascending is.
fields and now have control of the bridge, awaiting your next command, sir. I took the bullets out.
I'm surprised they could even run in the Rippers could even move in their suits at that point. And then we wrote this really funny ending that they cut out, which ended up with you burping at the very end, with it raining and you burping.
I like that. I like the rain scene.
Yeah, that it creates rain and
Yeah. Oh, and I had an umbrella hat. I
you
had
had
it
an
out of
umbrella
the
hat, exactly.
I love that.
I love that too. I love this animation too, but we could easily have had both, because it was a funny. It was a. It was.
They have
it was
that
a,
on. You know that's on YouTube. The original ending's on YouTube.
Well, good. I'm glad people have found stuff from
Yeah.
the original cuts. I'm sure there's an hour of footage that's missing.
Really? Wow.
And I love the animation, but it was great to have that. It was great to have that umbrella hat and rain and the burp.
Yay, Tank Girl!
Pow!
Pull pow! Well, Rachel,
Okay.
thank you. This is, I mean, it's a huge part of my life, and it'll live long after you and I. Pretty cool, girl. Good job.
Good job. Amazing, Lori. It's a little overwhelming to
Yeah?
look at it. I have to look it all the way through. Although, I guess I have to show it to my kids again. Anyway, Lori, amazing. Thank you. Thank you for coming and doing that, too.
Oh, please, thank you. Look at all these people. That's what's so cool. It's like when you look at the credits, you say all these people gave 100%, you know?
Yeah. Walter Scott, I need the stud coordinator, I need to give a shout out to, too. He did, and an old school stunt coordinator, really fantastic, but, having to really change his whole style to get into Tank Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it's so great to see people just, get that the stunts have to have humor as well as
right.
As work. And that's what we had, people who really loved everything about it. What's the music here? I think we put didn't we put Let's Do It at the, we put another refrain of Let's Do It, and then we have then some song I buried at the end.
No,
that
this
was
is
required
Ice-T right
by,
now.
What? Oh, the Ice-T?
This is Ice-T that I hear. I'm hearing Ice-T.
Oh, yeah, and
She
people
walks softly,
that's,
but she carries a big gun.
Oh, right. That was good. It was good of him to do a song for us, too. Even though they were like, we can't use rap. I'm like, why not? That was like the rule. Like, the minute anybody said to me, we can't, it's like, well, that's all the more reason to do it.
Right.
I guess that's sort of what we live by.
Dope. Love it.
She says she got it cause she says a lot of ladies won't. She says she got it cause she says a lot of ladies don't. She says she got it cause she says a lot of ladies can't. She says she got it cause she knows a lot of ladies romance the thoughts of giving men their own medicine. Electrocute them, light them up like Con Edison. She got no fear, 5 rings in her ear, holes in her nose, way out clothes, living life to the fullest, buckshot and bullets. Triggers, she'll pull it, earth, she wanna rule it. Maybe she will cause she's quick to kill. The city lights make her dresses tight, yes she bites. You never know where she'll come from. She walks softly, but she carries a big gun.
She walks softly, but she carries a big gun. She walks softly, but she carries a big gun. She walks softly, but she carries a big gun.
There's no way that you can fade her, son.
She walks softly, but she carries a big gun. She walks softly, but she carries a big gun. She walks softly, but she carries a big gun. She walks softly, but she carries a big gun.